So now it's time to evolve our Conlang. First comes phonological evolution. I'm assuming you guys already know most common patterns of phonological evolution and sound changes. If you don't, I'd really again suggest Bibliviridian's tutorial series. This video just teaches you how to apply that to a posteriori conlang specifically. So how? Well, you have your timeline from last time and you've done research on each language that influences your conlang and when. First thing is to know what the phonology and phonotactics of your actual proto-lang is. For Paresi, although it was really influenced by Neo-Punic, Arabic, and Greek, the actual proto-lang was Latin. And if you're making a Pidgin, Creole, or hybrid language where there's no one clear proto-lang, just include both phonologies. Then, take whatever languages you want influencing your conlang first and put their phonologies next to it, as well as the sound changes they were going through at that time. If your conlang wasn't influenced heavily by any other natlangs and just kind of evolved in an isolated scenario, that's fine too. In that case, put sound changes that relatives of the conlang went through. Or, if it's not going to be influenced by any other language and it has no contemporary relatives, then you're kind of just free for the phonological stage. And it's not really worth watching this video because you can kind of do anything you want. But if you are working off influences or contemporaries, you should write down those sounds and sound changes, then apply them whichever ones you like. For Paresi, I divided my evolution into 3 stages: the period influenced by Neo-Punic, the period influenced by Greek and Coptic, and the period influenced by Arabic. The proto-lang was Latin, and so here I have Latin's phonology. For the first period, I included numerous common changes to early Vulgar Latin, which I knew I wanted Paresi to go through, as well as some common changes to Southern Vulgar Latin with ideas from Sardinian. Unrounding of high front vowels, dropping of H, merging of B and W, loss of vowel length. There's not much Punic influence in the phonology other than the introduction of tha and sha as loan phonemes, and the evolution of tsa-za, although that also occurred in other Southern Romance languages. Next is the Greek and Coptic influence stage. So here I have the African Vulgar Latin phonology we just developed, and the Greek and Coptic phonologies, as well as more Vulgar Latin sound changes occurring around that time, and the changes Greek and Coptic were undergoing at that time. Specifically, Greek and Coptic aspirated stops were both becoming fricatives at this time. So I had African Vulgar Latin geminate stops, which had earlier become aspirates, then become fricatives under Coptic and Greek influence, adopting their sound changes as its own. Another product of this influence, although also occurring in other Romance languages, was the lenition of voiced stops to fricatives. Previously unvoiced, ungeminated fricatives had also voiced as a common Romance sound change. And the last stage was Arabic influenced, and also the stage in which Sicilian and Sardinian went through some cool sound changes that I wanted to include. So I used all of that, evolving retroflexes like Sicilian, and raising unstressed mid-vowels like Sicilian and Arabic. And there I had my final phonology. For each stage, all you have to do is look at the languages you want influencing your language, the sound changes those languages were going through at the time, and the sound changes that contemporary relatives of your conlang were going through, and use these as a really easy and naturalistic way to generate sound changes and therefore a final phonology. And if you don't have languages influencing your conlang or contemporary relatives to go by, you're free. Do whatever you want with the sound changes and it will still be naturalistic, as long as they make sense, of course. To be clear, even if you do have references, you can still include some sound changes you just make up for fun too, and still have it be naturalistic. But basing sound changes off of references makes it just that little bit more real. And that's the end of this video, and I'll see you next time as we cover the grammatical evolution of your a posteriori conlang. Thanks for watching.